Well, welcome to the Sunshine State. This is Queensland's hinterland area, and it's made up of parcels of 50 or 100 acre blocks of land, Nick, where city folk come to escape and live the dream.
Andrew, lifestylers are what they're called. Maybe they'll buy a horse, maybe they'll buy a dog. But this story is about putting the tree into tree change. As idyllic as a semi-rural life on the Sunshine Coast sounds, the reality can be something different. What was once marginal dairy country has been sliced up into ever smaller lifestyle blocks, which on one hand aren't big enough to make money as farms, but on the other hand are too big to maintain.
The urban sprawl has moved out into these areas, even though there's some properties are still over the 100 hectares. A lot of them are split up down to 50s and 20s and 10s, and so they're right mowing 5 acres and letting the rest go back to sort of a combination of weeds and maybe run a horse or a couple of cows.
Private Forestry Service Queensland is a not-for-profit organisation that is all about getting more trees in the landscape, and over the past decade have been proving the idea of small-scale hardwood plantations.
It was a fairly sunrise industry on some levels in the hardwood plantation establishment. But now we've got to the stage where we're on to 15, 16, 17-year-old plantations, and we can clearly demonstrate the end product and the values and returns that we'll get out of those plantations.
All right, well, your eucalypt hardwood plantation is nothing new, but typically those trees that have gone in down south are your MIS trees, and they are planted for pulpwood. But that's not the case here.
Pulpwood not worth much, Nick. The name of the game here is to create as much value as we can out of each of these little baby trees, and they are nurtured and they are looked after and they are cared for so that in 25 years' time this little tree could be worth as much as sort of $700 or $800. Now if you put 200 or 300 of them per hectare, it quickly adds up.
It's a process which relies on careful management. Site preparation is crucial, as is pruning and progressively thinning the stand as it matures, leaving only the straightest and strongest trees for final harvest. So Sean, our plantation has reached 15 years of age and you're doing your last thinning operation, but we are getting a return on our investment for the first time.
Yeah, this is getting to the pointy end of the management program, and so we're removing the trees that aren't quite up to scratch or are overstocked, leaving the stand in the condition that final stand is right up there with nothing but good products.
But these thinnings, there is $1 in these?
Yeah, there's a good return out of these. It's not, it's covering our cost to date, up to 15 years.
Righto, and then in 10 years' time, when these are fully cooked, that's the big pay.
That is definitely the big pay. That's when the taxation department gets very keen to talk to us.
This form of plantation regime does have some genuine tax advantages, and if you can wait the 25 years, the payday is pretty genuine as well.
On the very high value sites where we can produce sort of 15 5 to 20 metre poles, we can clearly demonstrate a return of $60,000 to $80,000 per hectare. That's at year 25 plus, so we're not talking overnight here, but we're talking about long-term, well-managed, well-planned plantations.
As well as the financial benefits, there are quite a lot of environmental benefits. This area, fantastic for growing weeds, millions and millions of weeds. They just grow everywhere, but look here, there's not a weed in sight.
Almost magically, the canopy of the forest actually shades out the weeds once they've been removed, so they don't grow back. What does come back is the birds and the bees and the furry animals.
Yes.
These trees are a boon for biodiversity.
There's a sugar glider.
I guess this is one of the areas that generally get misunderstood. Once you establish a forest like this, our bird population has tripled in this area, but because of the interaction with this plantation, we've got evidence and clear evidence of sugar gliders, koalas, ringtail possums inhabiting the forest every day. From a green grassy paddock, now we've got a structured forest system, and the animals see it as a habitat and they've moved in.
And the plantation idea isn't just catching on with tree changes.
Well, these are doing pretty well, Tim.
They're doing very well,
Gary.
Gary.
13, 14 months old?
Yeah, 14 months, and doing very well.
Local macadamia farmer Tim Salmon used to run cattle as well, but a small herd and poor soil made it a marginal business. In the past 18 months, he's turned to trees to generate a return and fight off the ever-present noxious weeds.
If we'd simply abandoned this pasture, we would still have an obligation to control those noxious weeds, but there would be no real benefit for us to be doing that. So it gives us a reason to be here to do that job, and some of the practices that we involved in growing the trees also naturally take care of the noxious weed pest. It kind of helps us pay for the solving of the problem. It also makes us feel better about spending money on solving the problem.
So, Private Forestry Service Queensland is ready and able to help landowners convert their weedy wastelands into productive hardwood plantations. No site is too big or too small, and with a little bit of care and attention, returns of $60,000 to $80,000 per hectare are being forecast.
And not only do the plantations make a nice retirement nest egg, they're also great for the environment. Noxious weeds are controlled, plus the birds, insects and animals come running back. To find out more, visit pfsq.net.